Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre was born into a poor family and became an orphan at a young age. She was sent to live with her aunt, Mrs. Reed, who treated her with coldness and cruelty. Her cousins were no better, and Jane grew up feeling isolated and unloved. This harsh childhood taught her early on about the cruelty of the world and the loneliness she would face. At the age of 10, Jane was sent to Lowood School, a charity institution for orphan girls. Life at Lowood was tough, but Jane formed a close friendship with Helen Burns, a kind and pious girl who taught Jane about endurance and forgiveness. Sadly, Helen died of illness, leaving a profound impact on Jane, who resolved to live her life with strength and a desire for freedom and equality. As Jane grew older, she received an education at Lowood and eventually became a teacher there. However, her heart yearned for change, and she longed to leave the oppressive environment of the school. Determined to seek a new life, she placed an advertisement in the newspaper, seeking a position as a governess. Soon after, she received a response from Thornfield Hall, where Mr. Rochester, the master of the estate, hired her to be the governess for his young ward, Adele. This marked a significant turning point in Jane's life, as she left the orphanage for the first time and embarked on a new adventure in a mysterious and grand estate. Thornfield Hall was a remote estate shrouded in an air of mystery. The servants were kind to Jane, but the master of the house, Mr. Rochester, was often absent. Jane settled into her role as Adele's governess, enjoying the peace and quiet of her new surroundings. However, her life took an unexpected turn when she encountered Mr. Rochester in the hallway one evening. Mr. Rochester was a complex and enigmatic man, whose demeanor and speech intrigued Jane. As they spent more time together, Jane developed a deep affection for him, and Mr. Rochester, in turn, admired Jane's intelligence and resilience. Their relationship grew stronger, but Jane couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss in the estate. Late at night, she often heard strange noises coming from the upper floors, adding to her unease. As time passed, Mr. Rochester confessed his love for Jane and asked her to marry him. Jane was initially shocked, but her heart was filled with joy as she realized she loved him deeply. They decided to marry as soon as possible. However, on the night before their wedding, Jane heard the strange noises again and decided to investigate. She discovered a shocking secret: Mr. Rochester's first wife, Bertha, was still alive, locked away in a room on the upper floor. Bertha was mentally unstable, and Mr. Rochester had kept this hidden from Jane. The revelation devastated Jane, who could not bring herself to marry a man who already had a wife. Despite Mr. Rochester's pleas and his explanation that his marriage to Bertha was only in name, Jane decided to leave Thornfield Hall. Jane fled Thornfield Hall in the dead of night, beginning a journey of hardship and self-discovery. With no money or possessions, she wandered from place to place, unsure of where to go, but determined to stay true to her principles. Eventually, she found herself in a small village, where she was taken in by St. John Rivers, a stern but kind-hearted clergyman, and his two sisters. St. John offered Jane a position as a schoolteacher in the village, and she began a new chapter in her life. Despite the humble conditions, Jane found peace in her work and a sense of belonging. However, St. John's feelings for Jane grew beyond friendship. He proposed marriage to her, asking her to join him in his missionary work in India. Jane respected St. John but knew she did not love him. Marrying him would mean losing herself and her independence. She refused his proposal, choosing instead to return to Thornfield Hall in search of her true home. When Jane returned to Thornfield Hall, she found the estate in ruins, destroyed by a fire. She learned that Mr. Rochester had been injured while rescuing Bertha, who had perished in the flames. He had lost his sight and one of his hands in the process. Jane was heartbroken by the news, but her love for Mr. Rochester had only deepened. Determined to be with him, Jane stayed by Mr. Rochester's side, caring for him as he recovered from his injuries. Her unwavering support and love helped him regain his strength, and their bond grew even stronger. Over time, Mr. Rochester's vision partially returned, and they were able to build a new life together. In the end, Jane's resilience and wisdom led her to a life of love and respect. She found her true home in Mr. Rochester's arms, and together, they embraced the happiness that had eluded them for so long.